Hey, I'm Julie. And if you've ever sat in a session, explained exactly why you do the things you do, traced it back to where it started, understood it completely, and then walked into the same situation the next day and done it again. Well, if that's the case, this episode is for you. That's the gap between you understanding about yourself and what you can actually change. It's maddening, and it starts to feel like something's wrong with you, like you're broken in some way that insight can't fix. But you're not broken. You're using the wrong tool. And today I'm going to show you why your brilliant analytical mind was never the right instrument for this particular job and what actually is. So, hey, welcome to my show. As always, if you're watching live, please drop a hello in and please interact with me if you can. And if you're watching this on replay, then by all means also interact, and I will do my best to find your comments and reply back to them. Now, in today's show, we're looking at why insight isn't enough. So, how to stop trying to think your way out of something that doesn't live in your thoughts. Okay. So let me paint a picture of what this looks like for you, because I'm pretty sure you'll recognize yourself in this. All right. So you can explain exactly why you overthink. You know where it started, what triggers it, why it matters given your history. You know, you've got the language, you've got the framework, you've got the self-awareness. And then Sunday night rolls around and you're laying there at 2 a.m., brain running through Monday's meeting for the fourth time, watching yourself do the thing you understand perfectly. You've done the work, you've read the books, maybe you sat in a therapist chair for months, even years. And you leave those sessions feeling heard, feeling like you've made progress. And then the same trigger fires and you react in exactly the same way. Maybe that's some tightness before a presentation. Maybe that's people pleasing in meetings. The same ability to switch off. You start to wonder if you're just fundamentally wired wrong. If everyone else can change, why can't you? Why are you the exception? Look, and honestly, I used to do exactly the same thing. Now, if overthinking was an Olympic sport, I would have won gold medal for sure, because I could analyze myself to death. I knew exactly where things came from, or so I thought, and I knew why I did those reactions, or so I thought, and I could explain it beautifully. The problem was I was still doing it. Now, drop in the chat, right? Has this ever happened to you? If you've maybe done a lot of work on yourself and you think you've got it all sorted, but something happens and you just can't work it out. Is any of this landing just yet? If it is, just drop it in the chat. So what I'm going to give you today is a different way of understanding why insight alone hasn't shifted these patterns, and a simple way to start working with what actually will. Because here's the thing, you're not bad at change. You're not resistant. You're not even broken. You've just been trying to fix something that lives in your body, your automatic responses, using a tool that only works on the conscious thinking mind. All right? It's a little bit like reading a book about how you can swim, how you can get a gold medal in swimming if you want. But while you're doing that, you're standing by the side of the pool. Now, you can clearly understand those instructions perfectly. You know them in theory. But until you get in the water and actually do it, nothing really changes, right? So by the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly why being able to explain your patterns hasn't changed them. And you'll have something you can actually use this week to start working at the level where change happens. I hope this is making sense. Please drop messages in the chat for me. So let me explain why this gap exists in the first place. So there's two main levels, really. Now, I talk about this a lot in many of my shows, but there's a difference between understanding why you do something and stopping yourself from doing it. So knowing it and doing it are very different. Okay. And most approaches to change stay at the understanding level. So I want you to think of it like this, right? You have your conscious mind, the part that analyzes and explains and makes sense of things. But that's only about 5% of the whole running of the show. All right. The other 95% is automatic. Now, these are your automatic reactions, like your emotional responses, the way your body tightens before anything has even been registered, what's happening. That's all running underneath without your permission, often without your awareness. Now, this can happen from our early childhood days where we've got learned behavior, we're taking on other people's beliefs, right? So if you lived, for example, with a parent that was always stressed, then you're likely to have very similar operating system because it's learned from those people before, right? Everything's learned behavior. But you can change it. And this is the good news. This is why we talk about all of this. It is a pattern. But what we need to understand is when you're just talking about something, you're using 5%. All the gold, everything that you really want to make to change that wiring, to change what's going on underneath, happens in that 95%. All right. So talking can be great, but it doesn't always make those big shifts, those subconscious program shifts. Now, I can speak from experience with this because I did train years ago as a talking therapist. And I know that I did help lots of people, but there were times when I felt I couldn't really help them anymore. You know, it was great that they were being heard and making sense of their story, but there was something fundamentally that I couldn't actually change. And just to be clear here, and I always like to say this, I am certainly not knocking talking therapy. I'm not talking coaching. I'm not knocking any other form of mental health because it is all really, really, really important. Okay. And as I said, because I've done the talking therapy and I do what I do now, I can promise you what I do now is getting to the root cause of what's going on and really finding it and dealing with it. So we don't actually do a lot of talking. Obviously, we have to do a bit of talking so I can understand a little bit about you. But fundamentally, we want to ask the 95% what's going on. I'm not really that bothered about what the 5% thinks because that's the logic, that's the ego, that's everything kicking in. But the rest of the gold is in that 95%. So it doesn't really make any sense, right? So I've worked with many clients, like I said, in the talking therapy world and with this. And I know the work I do now really is much, much, much quicker. But like I said, I am not, and I will never diss any other forms of therapy because I know people have spent years and I've spent 4 years training to do talking therapy, right? So it's an expensive journey. It takes a lot and different professions are trained in different ways as well. So it's not as clear cut as anything else. So all I can say is I speak from my experience. I helped a lot of people in talking therapy world, but I know I've had a much deeper impact in the work that I do now, working with the subconscious mind. Right. So just always think 5% conscious, 95 subconscious, but that 95 is where all your beliefs are stored, all your stories, all your memories. But think of it as your body is your subconscious mind. It's not just your head, it's the whole body. It's all connected. And us analytical thinkers really struggle with this because we want to think our way through this. We want to understand logically what happens. Now, that's all very well and good. And luckily, with the progression with science, a lot of this can be proved as well now, which helps those logical thinkers. But sometimes you just have to take that logical thinking mind off and just trust, right? And I can say that because I'm a logical thinker. I like to analyze things. It's like overthinking, but you can change, right? So it's not a failure of intelligence either, right? It's about really understanding the difference and knowing that your 95% is stored, all the memories, all the feelings, all the emotions. And I like to think of it as like a filing cabinet. When things happen to us, particularly in our early years, it creates what we call an event. Now, we attach a meaning to that event. Now, if we attach a negative meaning to that, that negativity is going to be stored in our body. And if that meaning you created like a physical reaction to something, like, I don't know, feeling sick, then that is stored now. That's a stored memory. So your body would know that its only job is to keep you safe. So when it's in a situation and it thinks, oh, hang on, I remember a time before when I needed to intervene. Oh, I'm going to give him that sickness feeling. And then it will come back in again. All right. So I want to be a bit cagey here and ask you a question. How many of you know exactly what you should be doing, but you're not doing it? Maybe you're saying no. Maybe it's setting boundaries. Maybe it's posting a video. Maybe it's attending a meeting. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation. You already know what to do. That's the gap we're talking about here today. The gap between knowing and becoming. Analysis feels safer than uncertainty. Control feels safer than surrender. So you keep doing the same things and it feels like progress. Now, you might be understanding more, you might be explaining better, building more insight, because the alternative feels like losing control. But real change often starts when you stop trying to outthink yourself. All right? It's time to get out of our heads and into our body, because your automatic responses don't just live in your thoughts, they live in your body. And I've said this before, your body will react before a thought has even come into your head. So that tightness in your chest before a big meeting, the way your shoulders creep up when you're about to be challenged, that shallow breathing when you're replaying a conversation at 2 a.m. Your body keeps repeating what your mind has intellectually outgrown. It will keep doing that until it feels safe enough to do something different. And no amount of understanding creates that safety, not on its own. Remember, you can't think your way out of a physical reaction in your body. All right? So what does work? Well, I want you to have a think for a moment where you have been working at that branch level, trying to cope with everything in your head. Because what we want to look at now is how we can change that, how we can reframe and move on. And here's what I want you to take from this episode: a reframe and a move. Now, the reframe is you're not stuck. You're just working at the wrong level. All right. So every time you try to change a pattern by understanding it better, you've been working at a branch level. The behaviors, the reactions, the habits you can see. But the roots underneath, in the automatic responses running the whole thing, in the identity level programming that decides you are reacting as you are. You have to go to the root level to create change that lasts. Otherwise, you're rearranging furniture in a house with a cracked foundation. And as I always say, that's the work I do with my clients, the identity box rewire method. We're not having a conversation about the patterns. We're dismantling it at the level that it actually lives. We're going to the root and finding where it really come from and dismantling it. So what we're going to do in today's session really is going to teach you this. It's called the move. Catch the body, not the thought. All right. Now here's something you can use this week. It's very simple, but it interrupts that loop. So it's all about interrupting that, interrupting even that subconscious programming. Because if you don't, it's just going to continue to run. So it's about stopping it in its tracks. So the next time you notice yourself in one of those patterns, whether that's overthinking, the people pleasing, the replaying, don't try to think your way out of it, because that's the trap. Instead, catch the body. Ask yourself, where am I feeling this right now? Is my chest tight? Are my shoulders up by my ears? Is my jaw really clenched and tight? What's my breathing doing? Is it very shallow? So what you're going to do here is just name it. That might be, oh, chest is tight. That's it. You're not trying to fix it. You're not analysing why. You're just noticing that the pattern isn't just a thought. It's a physical state. You're bringing awareness to the level where it actually lives. Now, this won't dismantle the patterns on its own, but it starts to break the loop of trying to outthink something that isn't a thinking problem. And this is what we need to stop. Stop thinking our way out of stuff, or trying to think our way out of stuff, because you can't. It's the first step towards working at the right level. So let's just put this into some practical examples, see if this helps you understand a little bit more, okay? So maybe you are laying in bed and it's 11 p.m. and your brain is running through tomorrow's presentation. You notice you're doing it. Normally you're trying to reason with yourself. Well, I've prepared enough. There's nothing more I can do. I need to sleep. Instead, you ask, where am I feeling this? Notice your chest is tight. Your breathing is shallow. So just name it. Chest tight, shallow breath. You're not trying to fix it. You're just trying to acknowledge that it's there, really. And it isn't a thinking problem. It's your body running a protective response. Scenario 2. You're in a meeting. You're about to agree to something you don't want to do. You can feel yourself forming. You're going to beat yourself up. You're going to people please again. Instead, in that moment, I want you to catch the body. Where am I feeling this? Oh, maybe it's tension in your stomach, shoulders braced, you name it. That tiny pause, that moment of noticing the physical state instead of just a thought, it creates a gap. And sometimes that gap is enough to choose differently. Sometimes it isn't, but you're starting to work at that right level. Now, if you was to go back and watch any of my other videos where I give you these insights, the thing I always say is change starts with awareness. If you're just going through life and you're not even aware that you're feeling these feelings, or you're just ignoring all this overthinking and all the things that are going on in your head, you're not going to make any changes. You have to stop and start acknowledging. Does this make sense? So I'd love you to let me know in the chat if any of these scenarios are landing with you. Maybe it's a 2 a.m. replay or meeting moments. Let's have a conversation. So here's what becomes possible when you stop trying to think your way out. When you stop trying to outthink patterns that live in your body, something shifts. You stop feeling like you're broken because insight isn't working. And actually, you realize that you were never broken. You were just using the wrong tool. You stop spending years in weekly sessions where you leave feeling heard, but nothing changes. You start working at the level where change actually happens, and it's faster than you would expect, and it's permanent, not temporary. And you stop white-knuckling your way through situations, managing yourself, controlling yourself, performing a version of calm while everything underneath is still firing. And that's a little bit like that swan analogy, isn't it? You look calm on the surface, but your legs underneath are going mad. Wouldn't it be great if you could be that calm swan on the surface and your legs were lovely and calm? Well, that's possible when you start updating those out-of-date wiring, really, because that's what we need to do. And then insight creates awareness, right? But awareness isn't the same as transformation. So knowing isn't the same as becoming. And that's where so many people get stuck. You actually change how you show up, not because you're trying harder, because the automatic responses that are running the show isn't running it anymore. So in other words, we've stopped that programming, that automatic response, and you're no longer doing it. So you're not going to hit those particular kinks in your hose pipe, if you like, because I talk about the identity, right, of all from whatever age you are now, to where you were born. You have like hose pipe that's got kinks in it. And when you get a kink in a hose pipe, the water doesn't flow. And it's the same in life. Your energy doesn't flow. You get stuck. So when something happens in, I don't know, when you're 40, it gets stuck on that kink in the hose pipe. But that might have been when you were 5 or 6. But by finding that kink and freeing that kink, you won't stop at that kink anymore, if that makes sense. So here's what I want you to do this week. The pattern that you've been trying to understand, I want you to understand that that doesn't live in your thoughts, it lives in your body. And you can't think your way into changing it. I can't express that enough. All right. So your action for this week is pick one pattern. Maybe it's the overthinking, maybe it's the people pleasing, maybe it's the 2 a.m. replays, whatever one it is that shouts the loudest. And the next time you catch yourself in it, don't try to reason with it. Ask yourself, where am I feeling this right now? Where are you feeling it in your body? And name that physical sensation. And that's it. You're not trying to fix it anymore. You're just starting to notice that this isn't a thinking problem. And that's the first step towards working at the level where it actually lives. All right. But let's have a quick look in the chat if there's anything going on there. Oh, I can't actually see it very well actually today. I don't know where it's gone. So if you are in there, sorry, I can't actually see you at the minute. But I will do my best to go back and look. But before you go, maybe you've simply been trying to resolve a body problem with your mind. And no amount of thinking can switch it off or respond to your nervous system because it still thinks it's keeping you safe. So if you recognize yourself in this episode, if you spent years understanding exactly why you react the way you do and nothing has shifted, you're not alone. And let me tell you, you're absolutely not broken. The gap between knowing something and being able to change it, that is real. And closing it requires working at a different level than most approaches even touch. Now, if you want to experience what it actually feels like, I've made something for you. It's called the Evening Upgrade. It's a free audio. It's roughly about 10 minutes. And it's designed to help you actually switch off tonight instead of lying there with your brain still running through everything, because that's really annoying, isn't it? When you just can't sleep. It works at body level, not the thinking level. Now, if you're interested, I'm going to drop the link into here. So you should be able to see it. There you go. Great. So just as a little reminder, okay, we cannot think our way out of a body issue. Let me tell you that again. You cannot think your way out of a body issue. You've been trying to do that, right? I mean, you can say what you're talking about, but I bet you've been trying it and you haven't been able to, right? In the same way, you can go on this lovely holiday, but when you're still taking it with you, right? So you can't run from it. And the other big thing is 5% conscious, automatic responses is the 95%. Patterns that live in your body, not just in your thoughts. So the exercise this time is the move, right? Catch the body, not thought. So ask, where am I feeling this right now? Name the physical sensation. And you don't need to fix it. I just want you to notice it. And maybe go back to some of the other shows and see the other tips I've given you as well and see if, you can use those as well, because there are quite a few there now. All right. But anyway, I've been Julie, and thank you for watching. And as you know, I'm here every Wednesday at 11:30. Go onto my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Please like the show. Please add any comments and I'll do my best to come back to you. This is a project that I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to get this message across to as many people as I can, that we need to do this identity work if we really want to be the best versions of ourselves. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.